What's up, guys, and welcome back to the DualSense podcast. This is episode number 94. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jason, and I'm joined, as always, by your other co-host, who goes by Timmy Turner this evening on Zencaster, who he mistaked for Tiny Tim from Scrooge before we started recording, which was hilarious. But, of course, his Christian name is Travis. Travis, what's going on tonight?
Oh, nothing interesting. Oh, you know what? Actually, there is something interesting.
Oh,
As you know, the day that we're recording, and as the entire world knows, it's the third anniversary of the Notre Dame Cathedral burning down.
yeah.
And
Forgot about that.
when it burned down, they found a sarcophagus in
Hmm.
like underneath it, I presume, because above it was not there anymore because it was on fire.
Sure.
And they are talking about opening it very soon, like this month. And I'd like to
Oh,
point out that they should watch some movies, maybe. That they probably shouldn't open it. Like I remember in
yeah.
Indiana Jones, the Nazi's faces melted. Maybe that could
Mhm.
happen. So let's avoid opening things.
Have they seen any of the Brendan Fraser movies in his prime? Just like pick
Yeah,
one of the Mummy movies, and I don't
not
know.
yeah. I don't. We don't need that. I don't need a Band-Aid man walking around that morphs into sand and bugs. Like I don't want this.
Yeah, I agreed. Or the next plague, the next biblical plague when they open it up. So
That could be it.
locusts or
Yeah.
whatever's next. Anyway, Travis. Well, I wanted to discuss just briefly the fact that I added an expansion SSD drive to my PS5 yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
It was not very difficult, but I want everyone to know that I'm now qualified as a brain surgeon. So if anything's ailing you, if you're having some migraines or maybe you're just not feeling yourself, let me take a peek for you. Poke around in there. And, it was funny there because like when this was first a thing, people were like, oh my God, you got to take, and not PlayStation fans, it was Xbox fans. Oh my God, you can't just plug it in. You got to take your casing off and you got to open up something and you got to put it in and screw it down. It literally took me like less than 10 minutes. It's really not that big of a
Right.
deal. So
Yeah, it's like putting air in your tires.
it is. It is. So I went with a half a terabyte. So it was on sale at the Best Buy or the Worst Buy, if you please. And I got one with a heat sink for like $60 or $70 off.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty good deal. So I went for it. So because in my head, I was anticipating, Call of Duty being Modern Warfare 2, I should say, being, 100 plus gigs, and the Harry Potter game, the Hogwarts Legacy, God of War Ragnarok, all those. And then apparently we're going to get 10 live service games over the next few years from Sony. So,
Might need it.
I might need it, just making way. And there are some games that I like to keep on my system, like Chivalry 2, and, some things I don't want to delete that I randomly like to go back to. So it's always good to have a little extra. A little extra cushion for the pushing, as they say. Anyway, Travis, we're a PlayStation podcast where you and I get together each and every week and we discuss all of the news, rumors, new games, and much more in the world of PlayStation. We do it in under 90 minutes, and we post new episodes on Monday on all of the usual podcast services, as well as YouTube, where you can also catch some gameplay videos that we post. I uploaded another episode, if you will, of my series in Crusader Kings 3 that I will talk about at the end of the show here when we discuss what we've been playing. But I told you a little bit about it at lunch the other day, so I'm excited to talk about it. I've been playing a lot this week. And anyway, you can also talk with us on social media. Our primary go-to is the Twitter, which is at the DualSense Pod. You can also find us on Instagram, where we post virtual photography, game screenshots, as well as Facebook. And we also have a blog called the DualSensePodcast.wordpress.com. So look us up and talk PlayStation with us. We'd love to hear from you, as we do from several of you. And without further ado, Travis, let's jump into the news here. Number one, Sony strengthened their bond with Unreal Engine and Fortnite creator Epic Games this week as they invested an additional $1 billion with a B in the North Carolina-based game publisher and developer. This is the third and largest investment made by Sony and Epic Games to date, which they now own an approximate 5% stake of following prior investments of $250 and $200 million, respectively. In a press release, Sony said the move is designed to take them into the Metaverse and beyond, as Sony president and CEO Kenichiro Yoshida stated, quote, As a creative entertainment company, we are thrilled to invest in Epic to deepen our relationship in the metaverse field, a space where creators and users share their time. We are confident that Epic's expertise, including their powerful game engine combined with Sony's technologies, will accelerate our various efforts, such as the development of new digital fan experiences in sports and our virtual production initiatives. End quote. Are you
Hmm.
ready for the PlayStation Metaverse?
Yeah, naming things Meta didn't work very well for Facebook, but I hope it works out for Sony. In a sense, this is something that you could kind of see them wanting to get deeper into this realm. The metaverse is something that's kind of popping up in other fields as well. Like my actual day job talks about the metaverse as a part of something
Wow.
they want to expand into. So it's like very strange. If you knew what I do, like it doesn't make sense, but it's a branch of what they kind of see the company as. But that's that's a lot of fucking money. And it's the funny part is they own 5% stake and they've spent half a quarter of $1 billion. Like it's just hard for me to comprehend that level of money.
Mm-hmm.
They've done over $1 billion and they're at 5%. Like
Yeah, only 5% for
what?
almost 1.5 billion.
Like what do you mean? But no, that's fucking incredible that there's that much money involved in this. Like I think when we were kids, well, we wouldn't have understood the concept of money, but the idea that this much money would even be around in video games seems like that would. I always felt like as a kid it would just be kind of a niche thing. I never thought it would be something that's as big as it is now. Like
Sure.
the fact that like okay, the job that I have, we have certain things that come through that we have to make happen quickly. We have a meeting after lunch every day to go over different departments, and in one of the departments, we'll talk about our rush orders that are specials, and typically those are celebrity related. Today, the celebrity that I had to rush order and make sure got out on time was for Doctor Disrespect.
Hilarious.
That's the level of celebrity that gamers are at now. Like, that doesn't even make sense to me because, like, the last one that I had to fix was for Russell Wilson's wife.
So hang on a second. Let me step in. This is I know I need this answered. So wait a second. Doctor Disrespect. You're saying when you say special order for Doctor Disrespect, he ordered 10 of whatever,
Right.
and he said his name said Doctor Disrespect, or he called somebody up and like, hey, I want this tomorrow, and then somebody called you guys and were like, hey, we need this now.
Yes. And they said, "Doctor Disrespect needs this," and Tammy Tammy,
This
who's
is
the
great.
person that does this, she's like, "Yeah, some guy called Doctor Disrespect needed this done," and I was like the only person who knew who he was.
Hilarious. So Russell Wilson's wife has also done this lately.
Yes, and the other one we
Okay.
had today was, I forget her name, but she's married to, or she's dating a soccer player
Oh.
who, plays for Team USA, and they called Leggett.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I know.
She had a special thing, we had to make ten one-offs for her, but my
Mm.
point is
Yeah. Sorry.
my point is, it's just incredible that video game content creators are now considered celebrities on the level of an NFL quarterback, enough that the company is like, "Yeah, this person is important." Like, that's fucking unbelievable, but the money's there, so that makes sense. I'm interested to see what the metaverse will be exactly, and it's interesting at the last sentence there, they're talking about digital fan experiences in sports, so that could mean 11 different things.
Yeah, I have a theory.
Yeah, I have a theory too, and I think we might have the same theory.
Hmm.
Is I think they're gonna create, like, on-court experiences for games,
Yeah,
and you'll be able to
absolutely.
watch it in VR or with a headset, something in the metaverse, which will be dope. It'll
Hmm.
be interactive in some way, like, maybe you can use your phone. I don't even know how maybe you can honestly, because of the way I think, you could maybe do live betting with it.
Yep.
I think that would be a really big and easy thing to do, like, you're sitting courtside, and you literally can be like, "Alright, well, they're gonna score 30 points this quarter, enter." There's 25 bucks, right? I think that'll
Yeah.
be a thing that they could do. To how far Sony pushes that, I'm not sure. There'll be a lot of ad opportunities in this kind of a thing to make a lot of money that way. So this is definitely a revenue stream for Sony that I think they're trying to jump on early. So yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
obviously we talked about the $1 billion, which is a lot, even though it's only 5%, but there is a huge, huge market. This market isn't I'm not even sure it's a rational market yet for the metaverse. It might still be irrational, but they have so much potential to make so much money on it. Like it's crazy. So yeah, all of this makes sense. Like when you look at Sony holistically as a company, like this is what I would expect them to do in a sense.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I think this is a multifaceted thing for the future for Sony. For me and you, maybe the metaverse doesn't mean anything right now because we're not people who play like Fortnite and these live service titles necessarily all the time. There are people who this is like literally all they do is play Fortnite as their hobby and whatnot. And the metaverse means less to me and you, I think, right now. But at the same time, this is where the future is headed. And I think it makes sense for Sony to partner with someone who is at the forefront of engines and, virtual production like they talk about. We've talked about before how Unreal Engine and Epic technology is used in movies for Marvel, to make things. And if they're using I think you can take those types of applications and apply them to the metaverse is what I'm trying to say. And I think that you're also on point with this is obviously going to bleed in and have a direct relationship with VR. And obviously PlayStation and Sony is all in on that. We're going to get the new headset. And I have the same exact thought as you do. I think this is a foregone conclusion for sporting events. We've talked about it before how eventually there's going to be a day that you can use the PSVR headset for concerts, for sporting events, and you buy your ticket, in your courtside or your front row, for whatever Dave Matthews Band or something like that's probably dating me for whoever the fuck is popular right now. I don't even know,
Dua
but
Lipa.
yeah, exactly. So those things are coming, and you could argue potentially that virtual reality is more suited for those types of experiences than video games, and it's certainly more mainstream. More people would use virtual reality for those types of experiences than video games, in my opinion. However, back to your point too, you talking about Doctor Disrespect and getting these rush orders and things like that. Video game as an industry has exploded over the the last decade, and even I think it's exponentially growing, and we can see that in things like microtransactions and how big of a component they are of PlayStation's revenue as a business and so on and so forth. So I think that if you're Sony, it makes more sense to pay someone and deepen your relationship with Epic, who is already doing these things, who you already have that connection with, than to say, "Wow, we need to start doing this ourselves."
Yeah. Why restart the wheel at this point? Just
Yeah,
let them do that part, and you can always make it better. Like, be Thomas Edison right now.
right. And I think lastly here, just to wrap up, I think that from a strictly games standpoint as well, I think the Unreal Engine, the fifth, Unreal Engine 5 seems to be a very robust and powerful game engine. And we're seeing some studios like we know that Fire Sprite, who's a PlayStation studio, we know that they are developing that action horror game or whatever in Unreal Engine 5. And I think we're going to see more of that. I think we might see some other PlayStation studios utilize Unreal Engine 5.
Mhm.
And I would say that there's probably something in the deal where PlayStation studios don't have to pay the royalty fees or maybe reduced fees when they use Unreal Engine. So I think this is multifaceted, like I said, but it makes a lot of sense, as you
I
said.
had another weird idea while you were talking, and this is probably, like, the least interesting idea to people, but I was thinking, like, imagine you put on my VR headset and then, like, be a spectator in your game.
That'd be cool.
I could see what you're doing, like, I could watch you play Elden Ring, or
Hmm.
I could watch you play FIFA, or, like, even if, like, they have a esports league, right? Rocket League esports, like, you could have people in the stands virtually watching the
Yeah.
game, and maybe somehow they can interact, like I
Hmm.
pictured thought bubbles, like, with them cheering, but that's kinda silly, but, like, maybe I don't really know. I don't know the answer, but, like, the idea that I could watch you in VR is kind of interesting in a way, especially if, like, I'm stuck on a level and you can walk me through, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah, I agree. Number two, rumors and speculation were rampant this week that Hideo Kojima and his studio, Kojima Productions, were set to be acquired by Sony and PlayStation Studios after the Heroes banner on the PlayStation website that features the protagonists from all of the current first party IPs was updated to include Sam Porter Bridges from Death Stranding. The update was odd considering it was the only second party IP and studio represented in the promo art, made even more odd when Hideo Kojima himself tweeted out the image from his personal account with no caption or statement at all. A few hours later, Kojima tweeted clarification saying, quote, I'm sorry for the misunderstanding, but Kojima Productions has been and will continue to be an independent studio, end quote. Of course, we have been here before when a similar PlayStation promo image revealing the acquisition of Bluepoint Games was leaked mistakenly by the Japanese PlayStation account, which Bluepoint vehemently denied, even going as far as updating their Twitter bio to say that they were an independent studio. Although this incident is not quite the same, it is curiously odd nonetheless. It should be noted that according to VentureBeat's Jeff Grubb, as of a couple of weeks ago, Kojima's Xbox game deal still existed. Grubb also stated on his YouTube show that he had heard Sony's acquisition was of a company bigger than Kojima Productions. Any thoughts here?
Yeah, when I first saw it, I thought, like everybody did, oh, okay, well, Kojima's definitely getting bought, and this is again, in the weird line of PlayStation news getting leaked out very weirdly, this would be a way to do it. That was my first thought. And then,
Yeah,
then I see Kojima is like, "Hey, sorry for the confusion," which is weird. Like he tweeted out from his own personal account, not Kojima Productions account or anything else. So that kind of makes you think he saw it and was like, "Hey, cool, we're on this list." So I could see an intern making that mistake. Like maybe just some intern throws together the thing and they just like Kojima's so ingrained with PlayStation, they probably were just like, "Oh yeah, cool, we'll put Sam up there," right? I could see that. Or maybe they're working on a banner that was of like the first X amount of games to come out with a director's cut or something like that, and then they just forgot to take him out or something. Like there's a lot of weird scenarios where this falls in innocently, but again, I still feel
sure,
like it falls somewhere past that. It feels intentional for some reason to me.
sure.
As far as the Xbox deal still existing, I genuinely feel like that either company could just buy out the rights, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know that that really matters.
I actually think we have a playbook for that because if you think about what happened when Xbox bought Bethesda and they still had to make Deathloop
Mhm.
and Ghostwire Tokyo for PlayStation, even though they were acquired, I don't think that's as big of a deal as
Yeah.
people make it out to
So
be.
yeah, he can still do his thing, but we own, like, yeah, that makes sense. So
Right.
to me, the most telling thing that makes this seem like at least the next acquisition we hear about is not Kojima is what he says at the bottom there is a company bigger than Kojima Productions has been rumored recently, and
Yeah,
that's the consistent thing we've heard over the last few weeks about the speculation is that it's a bigger company that you know of. So
that is true.
out of all the things in this news point, that's the one thing I keep going back to because I've seen it multiple times. Like, yeah, that makes me
Hmm.
feel like not that Kojima isn't bought, and they're not. They might get announced, in November or December. They might be fourth in line to get announced or third in line, but the one we hear next will be bigger than Kojima, is what I feel like. So again, maybe it's just a weird mistake, but I don't know. I do feel like there is some intentionality to it. Maybe they're just bored and they like. It does feel like PlayStation likes to just mess with people sometimes. So so that wouldn't surprise me either.
Right. It seems so odd because I don't understand why he tweeted that if he was trying to be harmless. Why would he just tweet that image out and say nothing until a couple of hours later? I mean, he knows what doing that is going to do to the internet. Maybe he was trolling. I don't know. I mean, he obviously is a legendary troll of sorts in terms of, hiding things in plain sight and Easter eggs and teases and so on. So, but this seems like a pretty big troll. Like, this isn't just like teasing your next game or whatever. So I don't know. But we do, like I mentioned in the write up, we do have, we have seen this before because when the Japanese Twitter account accidentally tweeted out the acquisition promo image for Bluepoint, that a couple of weeks later they were acquired, and so it's hard to not have that in the back of your head too. That's a possibility, and I'll maintain that it makes a ton of sense, really, for both parties, because Kojima obviously is a Japanese studio, Kojima Productions. One of two things: he's either truly going to stay independent, or he's going to become a PlayStation studio. I don't think he'll ever be a Microsoft Xbox studio. I just don't see that. I feel like if that were the case, that is a huge blunder and PR hit for Sony to lose one of their most long-standing partners, to lose someone who's so closely tied with what I would call PlayStation culture. To your point, though, about what you said about the Jeff Grubb rumors about it, we've heard for several weeks now that it's bigger. studio than Kojima Productions. We have been hearing that, and it does make you wonder who it could be. Is Sony really going to step up and buy a game publisher? Are they going to buy a Capcom, a Square Enix, somebody like that? I really hope not. I really hope not. And Kojima Productions is one of the last few developers, not publishers, but developers, I think, that makes sense for PlayStation to acquire. And the last thing that I wanted to say was that they, in this image that they updated on the PlayStation website, they took off Concrete Genie from Pixel Opus, which is a first-party PlayStation studio, and they replaced it with Death Stranding, which is technically, at the moment, a second-party studio and relationship, which is odd because the rest of them are first-party studios that are represented on that banner, which I find very odd. I don't understand. So, I mean, not to say, I mean, there's nothing saying that they can't do that, but it's strange to me that it's always been a certain way, and then now it's not all of a sudden. So maybe something, maybe nothing. We'll see. Number 3, in an interview with Xbox Expansion podcast, OddWorld creator Lorne Lanning stated that launching his most recent game, OddWorld Soulstorm, on PlayStation Plus was quote-unquote devastating for the title. Lanning suggested that the studio had lost out on potential profit due to Soulstorm's success on the service, having been downloaded nearly 4 million times while it was free to claim in April of 2021. Lanning and his team initially projected that it would be claimed by 50,000 to 100,000 PlayStation Plus users, despite millions of PlayStation 5 systems being in the wild by that point. However, Lanning did state that the PlayStation Plus deal was critical to finishing the game, as they had run into a number of issues, stating, quote, "We were hitting a number of legacy technical debt issues and talent issues, and, the game industry is emerging fast. Huge companies are paying fortunes." End quote. What do you think here?
Well, I think it's a fair question to ask them, would you have gotten 4 million downloads if you didn't have it up for free? Like,
Correct. The answer is no.
right. So, like, you can't, like, it's just apples and oranges. You can't be like, oh, well, if we would have gotten money for 4 million purchases, of course, if anybody had, yeah, no shit. Like, what do you mean? So, look, honestly, I don't know. It just seems like they're seeing lost profit that isn't necessarily there. Like, the thing about having games up for free is people download them and try them because they're free. Like eFootball, like if you download that for free to try it, like if that game was $30, nobody's downloading that game. Like
Correct.
it's just it's part of the model. So yeah, maybe they learn their lesson. Hopefully, if they're that upset with it, I hope they learn their lessons. But like, God, this reminds me of the people I deal with at work every day. Like they're upset about stuff that like there's causation and there's correlation, and people do not know the difference. And that's exactly what this is, a perfect example of that. Like, you just put the game out for free. Of course, you're going to get a fuckload of downloads. Like, how could they have not, as a company, why would you not do research to see how many downloads these other games had? And then look at the quality of your product and see where it lands in that range. Are you going to be in the low end, the mid range, or the high end? They landed on the high end.
Yep.
Like, I feel like as a video game maker, as somebody who also makes things, like, when you make something good and when you make something shitty, and that's why it's so frustrating when somebody tells you it's not good, right?
Yeah. Lauren either is out of touch or he got bad information,
There's two options.
or he fell asleep at the wheel or something, because
I don't get it.
I don't know how anyone who is creating a game, and Lauren has been doing this for a long time. I mean, he's been making OddWorld games for decades now, but I don't know how anyone can look at PlayStation Plus. You can look at the number of PlayStation 5 systems in the wild, which at that point were several million, over 5 million. I mean, obviously, over 4 million at least. I'd say by that point it was probably around 10, I think. How can you look at that and say, hey, we're going to put our game, the PlayStation 5 version only, for free for this month? There's 10 million PlayStation 5s. Yeah, we think 50,000 to 100,000 of those people
that's
are going to claim the game, because even at that point, I think we knew that like 90% of PlayStation 5 owners were PlayStation Plus subscribers. And I'm certain that you can ask that. That he could ask his account executive that they deal with. He could say, hey, give me some stats on PlayStation Plus. How many people have PlayStation 5s? How many of those people are active PlayStation Plus
Right.
users? Like, let me see some data before I make an informed decision. And if you didn't do that, that's
Yeah.
your fault,
There's no
first of
reason
all.
Sony would not help him with that.
No, they would give you, if you're when you're working out this deal, there's no doubt you could get that information. I'm sure they have it
Yeah.
quickly. Secondarily, this guy admitted they not how much, but he got millions of dollars to help finish his
Mhm.
game as a part of this deal. I'm not buying it. If now, I think you got to be a glass half full kind of guy, Lorne. I mean, 4 million people played your game or at least tried it, and if half of those people liked it, then maybe if you make another one, you've converted a sale. I mean, look at it that way. I just don't.
Mhm.
This is not PlayStation's fault, is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. If you're a businessman, like I said, you've been in this for decades, you should
Yeah.
know better, or you should know. You should at least know what questions
Yeah,
to
it feels
ask.
like a businessman who didn't pay attention, and now he's
Right.
trying to, like he's in denial, and he's not, like you fuck up sometimes, like, people it's okay.
Number 4, The Witcher 3 developer CD Projekt Red has delayed the current gen version of the game after it was previously scheduled to release by the end of June. The current gen port was being worked on externally by Embracer Group subsidiary Saber Interactive, but CD Projekt has now chosen to bring the project in-house. In a statement released on Twitter, the Polish studio said, quote, "We have decided to have our in-house development team conduct the remaining work on the next-gen version of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. We are currently evaluating the scope of work to be done and thus have to postpone the Q2 release until further notice. We'll update you as soon as we can. Thank you for understanding." End quote. Later in the week, in a call with investors, the studio clarified that the game is not in development hell, but that the team is simply being publicly cautious as they figure out exactly how much time they need. CD Projekt Red Senior Vice President of Business Development Michael Nowakowski said, quote, "Nobody's saying the game is delayed with some monumental time gap ahead of us. That's as much as I can say about Witcher Next Gen, but I really want to emphasize that fact." End quote. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there's to me, there's one of 2 options here. Either they're being uber cautious because CD Projekt Red was such a disaster, they're trying to make sure that The Witcher 3 checks every single box, and is it at worst case scenario, it is released at the level that Cyberpunk is right now. The other option is that they just suck at this for some reason on next gen. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure which one it is. You can read that either way.
Well, they haven't been working on the next gen upgrade. It's been another team, which is odd.
Yeah, so that's who makes me wonder, like, maybe they got they were at a checkpoint and they checked it out and they were like, "Look,
Yeah.
it's missing something, or it's not 100% there, or we're afraid, we need this to be a no-brainer because of how Cyberpunk went, and it's not there." That's my takeaway from it is there's must be something they're lacking, but, emphasizing it's not gonna be a huge gap, like, I feel like that is that's a PR quote, like, we need to say this even if it's not true, so people don't bail on us, basically. They don't we don't that's a little damage control there because obviously your first reaction to hearing this is, "Oh, it's gonna be delayed for a year." It's gonna be miserable because they
Yeah.
can't figure out anything anymore. So, yeah, I think he's
Right.
definitely playing a little bit of little PR games here.
I feel like it's maybe a couple of different things. Like either the contract ran up with Saber and they were just like, well, let's just finish this. Like, let's not pay them for 4 more months of work. Like, let's just do it. Or like you said, they got to some type of milestone and they're like, all right, show us where you're at. And they're like, okay, I think we need to take it from here. And I think that the decision was probably fueled a little bit by how well the next gen update for Cyberpunk has been received. From what I can tell, it's been pretty well received by players, and I think maybe with that in mind, they're like, okay, we've got a little bit of goodwill. We need to make sure this thing hits too, because we don't want to follow this up with a dud, and whatever the case. Or maybe they didn't want to they didn't want to let Saber Interactive get all of the the credit for maybe they want, what I'm trying to say is maybe they want to have 2 hits in a row, like
Amen.
two publicity wins in a row. Not, hey, here's this one, but then, oh, this one's good too, but we didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? So maybe they're looking for back to back wins here, is what I'm trying to say, and that's what it seems like to me. So Sounds like something we're still going to get this year. I'm going to guess like early fall, like August, September, maybe. So we'll see. Open world zombie game sequel Dead Island 2 is close to being re-revealed, according to Last Stand Media's Colin Moriarty. Moriarty said on his recent podcast that the transient project is coming soon, stating, quote, I brought this up a few weeks ago on the show, but Dead Island 2 looks like it's going to be re-revealed. I have heard from a source that I trust that the game may be fully revealed sometime this summer and released maybe shortly after that, maybe September or October at the soonest, end quote. This corroborates what insider Tom Henderson has heard as well, who said earlier this year that the game is still in development at Dambuster Studios and could be re-revealed this year as well. So you into Dead Island 2? You said controversially that Dead Island was better than Dying Light on the show. So does Dead Island 2 do anything for you?
I feel a lot of pressure when I play certain games. I never felt that with Dead Island, so maybe that's why I enjoy it. Or it just feels like it's like Insurgency. Like for some reason when I play Insurgency, there is nothing urgent about the game to me, even though there's objectives. I'm trying not to die. Normally you would think there would be some like high stress level there, but for some reason it never hits me that way. At least Dead Nation doesn't. There's something goofy and fun about the game to me, the first one. So I hope this one has all
Mm-hmm.
of those assets. I don't know why it wouldn't, but yeah, no, I think this will be cool. I'm excited to see what the reveal looks like, and hopefully it's not too long because it does feel a little bit long in between this one and the first one anyway, like a lot long.
Oh, absolutely. It's been like 8 years or something. Well, maybe longer than that,
Yeah.
maybe 10.
I feel like it's 10. I don't know if they've missed the boat on what they could have already had, but again, if it looks cool and it rates out well, it'll do fine.
Yeah, I'm excited about it to see what it looks like, and I feel like I think it's THQ Nordic. I think is the publisher of this. I think they're Dan Buster's publisher, but I feel like they're kind of quietly excited about it because one of the executives made some type of comment a couple of months ago about that they were excited about unannounced titles because Dead Island 2 had kind of leaked out, and they were kind of tongue in cheek referring to that. And then if they do reveal it and then release it quickly, like just a few months later, I kind of feel like that maybe is a sign of some confidence. I don't know. We'll see, but I think it could do well. Kind of odd releasing it in the same year as Dying Light 2, but it is what it is. It can't be helped. You've got to put things out when they're ready. So yeah, I'm interested to see what it looks like. Hopefully it's not a disaster, but it has, changed hands, two, 3 or 4 times. So we'll see. Number 6, the PlayStation VR 2 has been delayed to 2023, according to Ross Young, the chief executive officer of Display Supply Chain Consultants. In a tweet, Young said, quote, VR display shipments to rise more than 50% to more than 15 million in 2022, despite delays to 2023 at Apple and Sony, end quote. Young also said that the headset will use AMOLED screens with 800 pixels per inch on each panel, and that the headset is, quote, likely to be a hit among gamers, end quote. So, not a whole lot of information, but obviously he has something or some information that's telling him that it's been delayed to next year. What do you think?
First of all, stupid fucking name for that company. Display Supply Chain Consultants. Did you try?
Right?
It's not even a cool acronym. Anyway, likely to be a hit among gamers. Look, obviously, like, why else are we making it?
Sure. Well, it might not be a hit, but let's make it anyway.
Yeah, and it's different if it's like when I see independent games, like they're obviously not thinking about that necessarily. Like a lot of times it's a passion project or it's a game that's a lot of fun to make because they love playing platformers or something different like that or puzzle games or whatever. But when you make a piece of hardware that's PlayStation branded in this way, of course the idea is it's supposed to be a hit among gamers. Like what are you
Yeah.
saying? But anyway, no, this kind of sucks. I wanted it this year, obviously, but I can live with it if I have to wait, I guess. It's just I already thought getting it this year because like, Hitman 3 was like, we're gonna have this VR capability. So it's like I already feel like that game was gonna be 18 months old when I got the headset anyway.
Yeah.
And that feels far away. GT7 will be a year old by the time I get the VR headset. It's like, it's kind of weird. It's kind of frustrating. I almost wish we wouldn't have heard as much earlier this year about it because it's I don't know, maybe that's the a modern American consumer in me, but I hate getting information and then having to wait for something I don't want. It's annoying, but I mean it is what it is. I would like to see Sony actually make a statement than a guy who runs a company with a terrible name and it also has 2 last names.
Yeah, I'm disappointed if this is true because, obviously, like you said, we've been kind of building up our excitement for this as a couple of non-VR believers, and there's been a lot of things that have kind of hyped us up a little bit. So I'm getting pretty excited about it, and it'll be disappointing if it doesn't make this holiday. I think this holiday is a great time to do it, but it is what it is. If you can't hit because of supplies, then there's nothing you can do about that. And spring, maybe late winter, that's probably a good time too. That's becoming a very big time for video games to release. So that probably makes sense to have VR2 and then have a Horizon VR game, the Call of the Mountain game, coming basically a year after Forbidden West. So it just still will allow me to save up a little bit more, I guess. But it always sucks to see things that you're looking forward to delayed. But we'll see if it ends up being true. They still haven't even given us a release date to begin with. So can it really be delayed? It's internally delayed, obviously, but publicly and whatnot, it's not delayed. So we'll see. Number 7, we also have a bunch of news nuggets here as well. Travis, feel free to join me. First nugget. Deadline reported that the film adaptation of Ghost of Tsushima has found its writer, one Takashi Dosher, who has previously written sci-fi romance only, thriller Still, and ESPN documentary A Fighting Chance.
What a fucking combination.
I don't know about that one. That doesn't instill a lot of confidence, but they still got Chad Stahelski, the John Wick director, so there's that.
Sci-fi romance novels. Okay, sorry, I'm dead with this.
I don't know. We'll see. Next nugget, website gamesindustry.biz reported that Sony has agreed to update its guidelines regarding online subscription services following an investigation by the Competition and Markets Authority into their auto-renewal practices. Sony agreed to implement systems to contact long-term customers who have not been active on the PlayStation Plus service and remind them how to cancel subscriptions. If the users still do not cancel but are not active users, Sony will cease taking payment. So they'll auto-cancel your shit if you're asleep at the wheel. Next nugget, developer Beamdog has been acquired by Embracer Group subsidiary Aspire Media. Beamdog is known for a catalog of remasters of older games, while Aspire Media is currently working on remaking Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Perfect.
Yeah, that fits. Epic Games announced an investment in Acquirus, the Brazilian developer behind Wonderbox, Horizon Chase, and Looney Tunes World of Mayhem. Dutch publisher Sodesco has opened a new office in Madrid, Spain, and is their first office outside of the Netherlands. Braid, Ethereal, and former PlayStation alumni Nicholas Recca Baron, David Hellman, and Nick Sutner have joined forces to create a new game development studio called Furniture and Mattress. Boy, they really fucking messed up the first decision of the company.
God, Jesus.
What a terrible name. Speaking of, game publishing investment fund, the Astra Fund, announced their first 6 development partners this week. An unannounced title from Furniture and Mattress, an unannounced title from Zach Gage and Orda Therox, Paper Trail from Newfangled Games, which is a great name, Star Stuff from Animo Games, Schrodinger's Cat Burglar from Abandoned Sheep, and Ritmos from Floppy Club. Former PlayStation boss Jack Tretton is bringing his SPAC, or a special purpose acquisition company, to gaming as they aim to fund a gaming company valued between $1 and $2 billion. His SPAC, Power Up Acquisition Corp., has already raised $288 million during their initial public offering.
Wait, so their only goal is for it to be worth $1 to $2 billion.
Yeah, they're looking for. So the way SPACs work is they create a company without a company. So basically, they create a pool of money that people can invest in, buy stock in, and then they're going to go out and they're going to merge or acquire a company. So they're going to acquire a development studio that they value between $1 and $2 billion is what the idea is. And so what that's going to do, let's say they have $500 million in funding by then. So they have 288 now. Let's say they have 500 million. By the time they acquire this company, they're going to basically give them the $500 million. It usually goes down as a merger is what happens. So the Power Up acquisition will merge with Jason and Travis Studio and will be called Jason and Travis's Power Up Studio, and we'll have $500,000.
Do you know how to launder money? So I just had this great idea.
I'm working
We
on
can
it.
start a SPAC.
That's yeah. The funny thing is that that's been the joke about how SPAC. So basically, they do allow that type of thing to happen. I mean, that's in a way. All right. Next nugget. China has resumed issuing video game publishing licenses for the first time in 9 months, Travis, according to news outlet Reuters. The first new batch approved 45 new games for publishing in the communist country following a widespread government crackdown on video games. It's not the first time they've done that, by the way.
So was the primary agent pregnant or something? They didn't let her work for 9 months? Like,
No,
what are they doing?
I think they were just because the problem was, if you remember, they were saying that video games were toxic and kids were playing them too much, and they are like limiting people's time on video games. Like they get cut off at an hour and a half or whatever a week and all that shit. So
Yeah. Well, I mean,
we got that all figured out now, how to just be more tyrannical towards their people. Next nugget. A lawyer for the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing has resigned after claiming that California Governor Gavin Newsom has been interfering with the discrimination lawsuit against Activision Blizzard. So things just keep getting better and better for Microsoft.
why wouldn't he?
This year's QuakeCon event will once again be digital only and be held on August 18th through the 20th. Website Video Games Chronicle reported that the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 received a firmware update this week that improves system performance, believe it or not. Tony Hawk Pro Skater developer Vicarious Visions is officially no more, as their merger with Blizzard Entertainment is now complete, and they are now called Blizzard Albany. That's pretty fitting. Swedish conglomerate Embracer Group has said that it intends to continue its acquisition spree, with CEO Lars Wingefors stating that we can expect, that's a Bond villain, can expect a similar level to yeah, Lars, our buddy Lars, said that we can expect a similar level to the $8 billion that the company has spent since the start of 2020. Where are they getting all this fucking money? Anyway,
SPAC.
there you go, bingo. Also, Sega has clarified that its super game, Travis, your favorite, is actually multiple games that will incorporate cloud or NFT technology. So fart noise.
And suddenly that makes sense.
Yes. Also, some PlayStation users reported this week that some of their classic digital games on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita are no longer launching or available for download on their systems. The issue seems to stem from glitched software license expiration dates. Sony has yet to comment on the matter, and I doubt that they will.
You know what? Imagine that you go into work on like a Thursday or Friday morning, and then 10 of your 14 Wi-Fi routers access points are not working because they have expired software licenses. Imagine that happened.
Yeah, imagine. Next nugget, Saints Row developer Volition will host a new live stream next week that will detail the game's robust character customization suite. Actor Pedro Pascal said this week that he intentionally did not consume too much of the Last of Us video game because he wanted to, quote, create a healthy distance, end quote, from the game and the HBO TV series. Not sure how I feel about that one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you don't want to mimic exactly what you saw, but I hope he at least has enough to understand the character. Like, that's the most important.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. The heavily rumored Need for Speed game that's coming later this year will utilize a photorealistic art style mixed with anime-style elements, according to VentureBeat's Jeff Grubb.
I hate it.
I don't know how I feel about that. The upcoming All Elite Wrestling game is rumored to release sometime in September, according to website Wrestling Inc.
Of course, it's a wrestling website. Why did that never occur to me?
Website Push Square reported that assets for the Shadowrun trilogy of computer RPGs has been discovered on the PlayStation Network servers. The trilogy was originally announced to release on Nintendo Switch later this year, but now appears to be headed to PlayStation, as the Taiwanese ratings board is at it again and has rated the collection for both PS4 and PS5. Of
course. Do you know what this game is?
I don't. It sounds interesting, but CRPGs are a lot of text and reading, so I don't know.
That makes me sleepy.
Yeah, exactly. Also, Mass Effect developer BioWare has confirmed that the next entry in the series has entered early development. So all you nerds out there to get excited. Developer Sucker Punch Productions has ended support for Ghost of Tsushima and its Legends multiplayer mode following patch 2.18. The team will still monitor social media for potential bug fixes as needed, but will be moving on to other projects after supporting the title for nearly 2 years. Deep Rock Galactic will get its second season of content called Rival Escalation next month, including a free season pass.
Which is dope. Have you looked that up yet?
Now, I haven't looked it up. I have not looked it up yet.
Oh, so like there's basically like there's an asteroid coming towards the planet you're on that you start on in the episode, or whatever you want to call it in the story. And your character is dating the daughter of a famous rock star's band. And then the dad doesn't like you though, and he takes his crew on a spaceship. They're actually oil diggers, and then you ride the spaceship up, land on the asteroid, and then they nuke it.
This is great. For a second, you fucking had me. I was like, what is this? That's good. That is the plot to Armageddon. And I still have that game on my PS5, by the way, if you want to be Bruce Willis.
Okay, cool.
Because he can barely be himself these days. Is that too
fucking disease?
Is it too soon? I mean, what? All right, next nugget. Cyberpunk 2077's expansion is now aiming to release in 2023 and will feature a major new storyline. CD Projekt Red said more details will be released later this year. Traditional French bistro simulation game Chef Life, a restaurant simulator, will release on PS4 and PS5 later this year. Talk about boring. Christ.
Yeah, unless they get a digital Gordon Ramsay to yell at you.
This crepe is ass. All right. Website PlayStation Lifestyle reported that a Modern Warfare 2 teaser trailer is headed our way on April the 30th, according to leaker Ralph's Valve. Oh man, I've got a Valve. I hope my wife releases later tonight.
Ooh, yeah, tell me about it.
Oh, all right. All right.
Ralph's Valve. That's a great name.
I've heard of him before. He's leaked some stuff before.
But he has.
Oh, okay.
It's better than furniture and mattress.
Oh, shit. Okay. Oh, next nugget. Developer CI Games announced that they have delayed Lords of the Fallen 2 to 2023. The game was originally announced in 2014 and was originally scheduled to release in 2017, but development then changed hands and is no longer apparently releasing next year on current gen machine. What? God, this is a fucked paragraph, and I'm crying in the middle of it. I can't see shit. Okay, next nugget. Developer CI Games announced that they have delayed Lords of the Fallen 2 to 2023. The game was originally announced in 2014 and was originally scheduled to release in 2017, but development then changed hands and is now apparently releasing next year on current gen machines only.
Okay.
Website PlayStation Universe reported that the following games received update patches this week: No Man's Sky, Ghost of Tsushima, Apex Legends, Gran Turismo 7, Babylon's Fall, Weird West, Final Fantasy 14, and Ark Survival Evolved. If you've been waiting for some content or fixes. Call of Duty Warzone Pacific Season 3 will release on April 27th.
Called Pacific Rim Job.
Battlefield 2042 Update 4.0 will go live next week with over 400 fixes for the game. No, whatever. They have like less than 1,000 players on Steam too, so like literally almost no one cares. Also, No Man's Sky developer Hello Games told website IGN that their next project is so ambitious that it would seem impossible even for a studio with 1,000 employees. Interesting. Developer Striking Distance says that they will release new details of their upcoming action horror game, The Callisto Protocol, very soon. Developer Unknown Worlds announced that they are indeed working on a new Subnautica game and that it is in the early stages of production.
What's interesting is there was a Reddit post today about your favorite video games of all time, and we have had 2 references in this game for this episode. Subnautica was one, and the other one was Star Wars Fallen Order. Very interesting.
Really? Also, website Gematsu reported that Bandai Namco has trademarked Last Recollection in both Europe and Japan, which means that a new .hack collection may be on the way, whatever the fuck that is. Arc System Works added rollback netcode to BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle this week. Capcom announced a second Capcom Arcade Stadium collection with an additional 32 games headed your way on PlayStation 4 on July 22nd. JRPG Metal Max Xeno Reborn launches June 10th on PS4 in the West. Publisher Nacon and developer Rogue Factor announced action-adventure game Hell Is Us. It is being developed on Unreal Engine 5 for PlayStation 5 and will release sometime in 2023. The game's creative director is former Deus Ex art director Jonathan Jacques Bellette, and that game looks fucking dope, by the way.
How would you describe it?
It is like Death Stranding mixed with Hell Let Loose, and I'm not just trying to make a play on words there, but it's like it looks very dark. There's no guns that I can tell. There's melee weapons, but it looks very dark and it's very odd in a Kojima way. Like you're fighting some type of entities from another realm or some shit, and they look like fucking mannequins. I don't know. It looks wild.
Which part is like Hell Let Loose?
Just kind of the aesthetic of it, like dark, and it's like the maps, like the environmental design is what reminds me.
What I pictured was you had like a baby on you, but you were fighting in World War II.
I mean, it kind of looks that way, honestly. I think there's a teaser trailer. I'll send it to you in a little bit, but you guys should look that one up. That's one to keep your eye on for sure. PS5 launch title Bugsnax will get a free content update called The Isle of Big Snacks on April 28th. 2.5D, Travis's favorite genre, action RPG, Ayuden Chronicle Rising will launch on PS4 and PS5 on May 10th. It is a prequel to the upcoming strategy RPG Ayuden Chronicle 100 Heroes, which is launching sometime in 2023. Square Enix has filed a trademark for Lenneth in Australia, a subtitle to Valkyrie Profile. In similar news, Bandai Namco filed trademarks for both Ace Angler and Fishing Spirits in Canada.
Fuck yeah, fishing games.
Yeah, so we got some new games coming. Also, developer Spiders has delayed their action RPG Steel Rising to September the 8th.
Can you handle it?
I don't. That game, I'm initially was interested in that, but I don't think it's for me, so I'm gonna let that one go. Also, Hello Games has released their 19th content update for No Man's Sky called Outlaws. We talked about Outlaws last week, ladies and gentlemen. It features smuggling, improved space combat, recruitable NPC squadrons, a new expedition, and the first new starship since February of 2020. It's incredible how they keep supporting that game.
I would like to say that they basically describe the Millennium Falcon. Like
Yes.
that's what they do. They're smuggling things. Like it's just okay, cool. So we can do our version of Star Wars.
Yeah. Sounds good to me. Also, roguelite horror game Paper Cut Mansion will release on PS4 and PS5 sometime later this year. Couch co-op spaceship recovery game Fueled Up was announced for PS4 and is due out sometime later this year. Squad-based stealth game Deadly Dozen Reloaded, which is a World War II game, launches April 29th on PS4. Narrative-driven first-person puzzle game Eternal Threads will launch on PS4 on May 19th. Publisher Xseed and developer Grasshopper Manufacture announced that No More Heroes 3 will release on PS4 and PS5 sometime this fall. Publisher CFK will bring mobile game A Street Cat's Tale to PS4 on April 28th. And finally, Travis Gamatsu reported that narrative adventure mobile game South of Circle will make its way to PS4 and PS5 sometime later this year. And that's all for the news this week. I'll turn it over to you now for new games.
On the 11th, we have Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts 2 Complete Edition. Sniper Ghost Warrior is interesting if you like to snipe in a more realistic way than, say, Sniper Elite. And I've watched some people play it online, like watch some different gameplay. It actually looks pretty fun if you're into that type of game. It's still very niche, but check it out if you're into that kind of a stealthy FPS kind of a thing, single player type deal. On the 12th, we have Cathedral, and then HIQ Ace Deluxe. On the 13th, we have Blast Brigade versus the Evil Legion of Dr. Creed. Cred? Is it Cred?
I would go with Creed. Yeah.
Okay. We also have Patchy on a Roll Heart Theft Funnel. Whatever that is. On the 14th, we have Arcade Archives, The Legend of Valkyrie, Hidden Shapes, Animals, and Lovely Cats. Nobody Saves the World, Road 96, Tape, Unveil the Memories,
Road 96,
Them Bombs, and Winning Post 9 2022.
Very good, very good. And that is all for the new game releases this week, and we'll begin to wrap the show up here by discussing what we have been playing and anything we may be looking forward to. What do you got?
On the racing game front, apparently NASCAR is trying to get out of their current contract with the video game developer they have, which I forgot, because they keep making dog shit racing games.
Really?
And there's apparently an IndyCar racing game on the way for next year, which I do not have high hopes for. But both of those markets were viable in the late '90s, early 2000s, or those types of games were viable in the racing market. So it's interesting. There's definitely a license there that could be used, but I'm not sure anybody knows how to bottle it right now. So that'll be interesting to see if they can figure it out. NASCAR more than IndyCar because most people will just play F1. But anyway,
Right.
what I played this week. So I played some Gran Turismo. We've managed to identify two. There's two cars in the legendary market right now. There's a Mazda and a Porsche. They're both around one's 2.5 mil, the other one's 1.8. And when you buy them both and you go to the cafe, Jeremy in the cafe talks to you about the car. So that's why we think that it's eligible. So both of those cars did win Le Mans, and it gives you a prompt. So that's the most we have to go on. Almost everybody has bought the two cars at this point. So if you've missed them, they might be sold out by now. By the time you hear this, if you play that game. But I basically played a bunch of the missions and some of the track experiences because I was trying to just get some more in-game credits so I could buy the second and third car for this challenge whenever it or this trophy. They've updated the game the last 2 weeks, and there's people who complain. They're like, "How come on GT Sport I'm faster at this track than I am on GT7?" Well, the obvious answer is the games are different. But I will say that the wind is a thing on GT7. There's always a wind gauge on the tracks, and I'm thinking there's something there that affects races more than people realize. I think it makes the car handle different, and I will say that the grip is gone in the last update. Like you can't grip the track. It doesn't matter what tire you use. The grip is completely gone. The cars are inherently loose. Like they're born that way on the game. So like it's strange. I don't know why the grip is gone. It's annoying. Again, this is every polyphony. Ever since they've had the ability to update games online with polyphony, every update something weird happens with the car, and by month 6 or 7 they'll have it balanced. So like we expected this type of stuff. I'm not surprised. It's still fun to play, but I think next week we're gonna play some or this week we'll play some Chivalry probably.
Hmm.
That'll be fun. I might try this football game out since they have the licensing's right to our state USL team. That just sounds kind of fun to check that out.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
want to see what it's about. So I might try that. And eventually I'll play Sherlock Holmes some more. I really didn't have time this week. So
Oh, yeah.
but hopefully I'll get back into it this week. I was building bookshelves for all my books. So I didn't really have time to do that this week, but we'll see.
Cool.
That's my plan.
All right. So I have been a very busy boy this week. As you can see on my list here, I finally beat Cyberpunk 2077, and I really enjoyed it. I just finished the story out. I did some side quests along the way still too, just some ones that interested me. And it actually some of the side quests that I did that I saw all the way through, they were I mean they heavily impacted the story and my ending of the game. So yeah, I can really recommend it. Especially well, let me not say especially, but I can recommend the next gen version of the game. It's the one we should have had from the very beginning. I enjoyed the story. I think I enjoyed the gameplay the most. I loved throwing knifing people in stealth. The gunplay on the DualSense was fantastic. So definitely check it out. And then at times, that game graphically looks real. I don't think the character models are the greatest, but the environment is really cool. And Night City is just a really cool place and backdrop for the game, I think. And I think there's a lot of intrigue there. The world's not terribly, full of stuff to do necessarily, but it's not totally lifeless either. But yeah, I would give it like an 8 out of 10, I think, in the end. Very good. Very good. I also platinumed that game called Devastator that I talked about a few weeks ago. It's that twin stick arcade shooter. It was a very easy platinum. Like not very easy, but it wasn't difficult either. You just had to get some high scores and play all the different game modes and stuff. So I got the platinum of that and really enjoyed it, actually. I can recommend that game also if you're looking for an itch to scratch with a twin stick shooter, just something to watch shit explode. And that game can be played in 4K 120 frames per second on the PS5 is my understanding. Very pretty game. The I guess particle effects, it kind of looks like a fireworks show when you're blowing shit up or whatever shooting. So very cool. I posted a clip on Twitter if you're interested to see what it's like. And then played some more Crusader Kings 3, as I mentioned at the start of the show. I uploaded another episode of my playthrough on there, and I was telling Travis the other day at lunch that it was just outrageous what happened, because I tried to just play it for like 30 minutes and it ended up turning into like an hour and a half. I finally figured out how to declare war on my nephew in Dublin, who I wanted to take Dublin from. One of my council members had a claim on the territory. So finally I figured out how to declare war. I had to disband all my armies for some reason. Doesn't make sense, but whatever. So I thought, this won't take long, because I had like between myself and allies, I had like 2,500 troops, and my nephew in Dublin had like 400. I was like, this won't take but a few minutes, right? Wrong. So in game, it took me 3 years to finally take over Dublin and to force him to surrender. In that time, we battled many times individually, and what would happen is I would send my army to Dublin to siege, and the AI was smart enough to make an ally of another computer player in the meantime, because they needed more soldiers. And then that ally sailed over from somewhere in Europe, and they sent them into my other provinces to attack my towns to distract me. So I would have to leave my siege and then go fight them off and then come back, which all takes in-game time. And in the in-game time, they would refortify Dublin. So it took me 3 years, because I kept having, because the AI was, it was smart in a way doing all that stuff. So finally was able to take Dublin, but in the midst of all of it, I kept taking prisoners. And I told Travis a story about how at one point my nephew had his son commanding his army, and I took him as prisoner, and it pops up and tells me this. And I was able to ransom him for 50 pieces of gold, which is quite a bit in the game. So I let him go, got my 50 pieces of gold, go back to my siege. Well, here comes the army again to distract me. So I go back, I fight it again, and I capture his son again. They sent his son right back to fight me. And I captured him again and ransomed him for another 50 gold. So
perfect.
I used the 100 pieces of gold that I got in ransom off my nephew's son to buy a siege unit, to which I then sent to the battle with him to help me siege Dublin from him. So to me, that's a 10 out of 10 game. That's fucking phenomenal. Like, that's just that's stuff like, it's just all these like little stories that kind of like write themselves. It's so fun. Now, I admit there's a lot of moving pieces to the game. I'm not going to pretend to understand any of it. I probably understand 20% of what's going on, and I'm still having a blast, and I still have a lot to do and whatever, and trying to figure out things. So it's as in depth as you want it to be, or you can just ignore a bunch of shit and just see what happens, which is basically what I'm doing. And anyway, so yeah, I'm loving that every bit of it. And I'm so far, when I say I think it's a 10 out of 10 game. It's fantastic. Anyway, so then I tried a couple of other PlayStation Now titles that got added this month. I tried Outer Wilds and Journey to the Savage Planet. I had to turn both of those off within like the first 3 or 4 minutes because they're unplayable. The frame rate and performance were terrible on both games. Frame drops, skipping, lagging, terrible. Delete. Then I bought a indie game called Nobody Saves the World because apparently it was supposed to be good. It's got like an 80 on Metacritic. It's from Drinkbox Studios, who's the studio who did like Guacamelee. And anyway, it's like a top-down action RPG, and it's probably the worst $20 I've spent all year long. It's just boring. Like there's nothing there. I was not having fun. I played for probably an hour and a half or so, and I was like, I'm not even, like, I'm feeling nothing. So delete. And anyway, so then from there, because I was off today, I moved on to WWE 2K22, played some of that today, and I really, really like that game. I don't know why. I'm not a wrestling fan. You know, I did watch some growing up and whatever and played the wrestling games on N64, but the game is so much fucking fun. I don't understand. So it's just fun. That's all I can say. And then lastly, I didn't make it into the write up here, but this evening I did try eFootball 2022 because they did a big update, as we talked about last week, the 1.0 version of the game. And I've been seeing some stuff this week about how it really changes it, really fixes a lot, so on and so forth. So I booted it up and there's only two modes. You can just play with authentic teams like scrimmages basically, or you do the FIFA Ultimate Team style mode, which they call Dream Team, where you build a team, buy players, whatever. It's a little confusing at first, I guess, like not because it's complicated, but just because trying to figure out like what you're doing. So I bought it generates players for you. You pick a team that you want to have their kit and all that, and then it generates players for you. And then you have some starting currency, in-game currency, and you can buy. It tells you to buy your favorite player. So I tried to actually buy somebody who wasn't as expensive, so I could buy a couple of other people that were decent. So I bought Richarlison and then Jordan Pickford from Everton and somebody else too. But anyway, played some of that, just messing around, and it's actually fun. I mean, the graphics aren't very good, definitely not as good as FIFA, but the gameplay is fun. And I think there's something there. I think they've got some good bones. And I didn't play it before 1.0 release, but I've definitely played a lot worse for free. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So,
Paying for $20.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And for $20. So it's definitely not the worst game I played this week. There's 3 other games worse than this one. So I think it's worth trying out if you're a soccer fan, soccer game fan. It's definitely worth trying out and seeing if it clicks with you. So it's a lot that I played this week, but I had some time and I took a day and a half off. So, but anyway, I think that's it for us and for the show. We'll get out of here now. If you guys enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. We'll get delivered to you on Monday right in your podcast feed. And also, if you could review us or rate us on your podcast service, that would be most helpful, as well as sharing us with a friend or a loved one who you think may enjoy the show. And also, don't forget to find us on social media and talk with us: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and our blog. We would love to hear from you. We'll get out of here now. You guys take care. Have a great week, and we'll talk at you next time. Bye-bye.